Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tom and Arnold Talk Movies. I'm Tom. This is Arnold.
Hello.
Today, we are talking about the final episode of Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall. Possible final episode. She might be back at some point. So, this was written by Chris Chibnall, directed by Jamie Magnus Stone. Cast includes Jodie Whittaker, Mandeep Gill, John Bishop, Sophie Aldred, and Janet Fielding. Our basic plot is it's the 13th Doctor's final adventure, and she faces three of her most deadliest foes. So, Arnold, what did you think of the power of the Doctor?
I was surprised. I did not expect it to be actually alright. I mean, I was saying to you last night, I was like, I didn't expect to watch this episode and think, hang on, I'm actually enjoying a new episode of Doctor Who. Don't get me wrong, it's an absolute mess. Feel typical with, too many characters, too many plots, and then completely resolved too quickly. And that's pretty much it. But mainly, it was just an enjoyable sort of display of fan service for the new and the old fans to enjoy. So, what about yourself, Tom?
I quite enjoyed it quite a bit.
Very good.
Yes, because we're not the biggest fans of this era of Doctor Who.
No.
I'd saying that we always sort of shit on it, but there are, given benefit of the doubt, there are spots of gold in this massive turd. But yeah, I'd say this is probably my favourite Jodie and Chibnall episode, which is kind of sad because it's the last one, and it does make me think when Chibnall is given enough time, I think he can write a somewhat decent script which is decently paced and is entertaining and engaging, and it's sort of in a kind of big way. This episode might have actually made me realise why I love Doctor Who.
Yeah, like sort of reinvigorated thing. Your
which is a big thing because like over these past few years, I mean, I'm not like we joke and that.
But,
it's just we just haven't been into it. But this is like this is why I like Doctor Who. It's because this is how it should be. It's kind of silly. It's especially with Chibnall, it's all over the place. But there's that charm of Doctor Who, which is what it needs. Like when you go back and watch like a crap episode, you're like, there's still something there, and I think this is one of those episodes.
It's got that spark.
It's the first Jodie episode where I've been like, I'll definitely rewatch this at some point. So yeah, very good. I thought very good.
What can you sort of remember going into this episode? What was it actually about? Like in terms of the plot, because on the one hand you've got the Daleks, something to do with volcanoes. I couldn't quite remember what was going on with that. And then you've got the Master, the whole plot of essentially wanting to regenerate into the Doctor. And then you've got the Cyberman occupying this moon that's been built as like this sort of conversion planet.
Yeah.
In 1916 Siberia. So you've got all these story elements. And they're all and they are intertwined.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like when you sort of take out the fan service, you've got all these characters to account for. Tegan, Ace, Dan abruptly leaving is a sign of plot convenience in order to fit all those characters in. I mean, Vinder comes in for some reason, and his role is essentially just to shoot the Master. But what did you get out of that in terms of, did you actually understood what was going on in the storyline?
Well, that was just...
could you tell me what was happening with the Daleks?
No. All right. Going back to what you said to begin with.
Okay.
In terms of did I know what was going on? 100% of the time, no.
Okay.
But I do think this episode has done a really good thing with writing itself out of situations where you can add in a line and it would make sense, because you said about Vinder being there, but you might have missed this line because I did. I haven't really watched this, but I've sort of gone back in pieces. I'm just giving some context. But it's just like there's a bit where Vinder says that he's actually looking for that Chronox or something, Kronos.
Oh, Quarrants.
Quarrants, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the reason why he was there, because he was looking for that.
Yeah.
So I think I reckon if you went back and fucking put your headphones on and really listened, I think a lot of this would make sense. But in terms of like as a whole, I was not following it all the time. Like,
No.
I think the main plot to me was like the Master has come up with this plan to capture the Doctor, which in a way is kind of similar to series 5, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
with the whole collaboration effort
yeah,
with the Dalek
yeah,
and the Cybermen.
the alliance
yeah.
and all that.
Yeah.
But it's like the main plot to me for this episode was more like the Master wants to kidnap. Oh, spoilers by the way, spoilers for everything. The Doctor, the Master wants to capture the Doctor because he wants to basically take over the Doctor's body by forcing the Doctor to regenerate into the Master. That to me is the main like thrust of the story. The Cybermen feel like henchmen for the Master,
Essentially.
yeah. Whereas
Yeah.
the Daleks have got their sort of own plan going on, which is basically they want to destroy the world.
And it makes sense because the reason why the Daleks are working with the Cybermen and the Master is because they can get rid of the Doctor because truly the Doctor's the only thing that stands in their way.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
in that way, in that sense, it does make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's just, I don't know. It's like because it's so fast paced and it's weird because it's 90 minutes as well. It's like it's kind of it's one of those episodes you have to watch a couple of times in order to really sort of and like. I do think, for the most part, it does sort of, it doesn't really fall apart too much, but there are bits of plot holes and,
Oh, definitely.
But, nothing's perfect, essentially. I can let it off because it's so charming, essentially.
I think that's the thing. That I think the pacing is really good. Like,
Yeah.
because I've put here like it does feel like a 2-part episode.
Condensed
Sort of
into... Yeah.
Condensed, yeah. I could
Yeah.
imagine this. I could imagine the first 45 minutes. That say if we've got a 10 episode series of Doctor Who, I could imagine first 45 minutes that's episode 9, and then the next 45 minutes is episode 10. Because and I reckon if thinking about it just now, if we would have had that week's break in between, say the cliffhanger is I'm the Doctor now and it's the Master, then we have a week off and we're like, what the fuck's going to happen? But because we don't have that week off, it's like it seems like they become the Master, however you say it, and like then she gets turned back into herself, the Doctor, and it feels like about 20 minutes has gone by and the Master doesn't really do anything as the Doctor. He does that one thing.
There's one thing I really like, and it's I've got it in my notes somewhere. There's a bit where it's like there's one thing, and it's sort of thrown in there where the Master takes Yaz somewhere, and he walks out of the TARDIS, and suddenly see 2 planets, and like nothing really is implied in what's going on, and he sort of you see this it's essentially a robot that's surveying this area. And if the Master's basically saying, I'm the Doctor, I caused this. And it's like, it's never really addressed again.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is obviously just put there for dramatic effect, based on this is the new incarnation of the Doctor, which is a really solid idea, to be fair. And I wish they spent more time with that idea, because I generally do think that is it's an idea that deserves to be sort of, spread out, exterminated.
Exterminated. I said extended.
Oh, okay. Spread out. Mind of a Dalek, I am. Spread out into more episodes, but, it is what it is.
The idea, though, of that whole sort of body transference thing, it does feel very sort of 70s to me. And it's just like, I in my head right now, I can imagine the set. I can imagine, like, 2 shitty-looking, like, pods. And the third Doctor gets in that one, and the Master gets in that one. And, like, I just, like... It's times like these where you learn that this show is basically the same thing it's always fucking been.
Yeah, it's maintained its sort of core identity.
Yeah. There's even, and there's one moment which I thought I've seen because I watched it. Anyway, and like there's this one thing I saw, and I'm sure one of the uni officers or soldiers was wearing like an old beret from like the 80s. It's like that fucking tiny little details in the ship, man. But I think this is one thing I will say about this episode which I think is quite good. I think the Day of the Doctor. I think this is, in some ways, this feels like a sequel to Day of the Doctor, if you know what I mean. But what Day of the Doctor did for the actual Doctor, I feel like this did for the companions. This felt like the companions anniversary special. Like, we see Tegan, we see Ace, and there's a bunch of people at the end, which we'll probably talk about later, not to spoil every single thing at once. But
oh, we'll have to spoil it. I mean, you can't watch this video without having to see that episode.
But just like what we said about Sausage the One Man, like I think he's been the most consistent and the best thing about And another thing about as well with the Master, especially Sausage the One, is that when you think about it, we had one series without the Master and then he was back, and he still managed to come in, and he's a bit John Sim, but he still managed to come in and sort of make it his own.
I think this is probably the best Sacha Dhawan performance since he was introduced in Series 12. And I didn't like him in the finale, Time of Children, because he was just there for exposition dumps.
Definitely.
But this, I really think he had the chance to sort of do 3 versions of the Master. So the Rasputin Master, it's a bit more Delgado. Excuse me. And he's a bit more reserved, but he's so sinister in his demeanour that has that sort of hypnotic quality, like Delgado. But you can sort of sense that he's really on edge in that. And I quite like that. He's a bit more, less sort of John Sim-esque, born, that's pretty cool. I really like his version as the Doctor, because you can't. For me, it was like he's probably high on regeneration energy, and this is him as his sort of truest self, his most raw himself, essentially. And there's a certain scene just before he changes back to Jodie that he goes, he doesn't want to let go because he doesn't want to go back to his body, and you can kind of tell he secretly likes being the Doctor, and I really love that. There's a lot of dimensions in those 3 performances, because you've got like the Master when he's a seismologist, and that's the Master we know from the Spy Master. So there's a lot more depth in this performance, and I do think he's probably the best thing about that episode for sure. Sacha Dhawan, a part of me really wishes he'd be in the RTD era now.
Well, he might be.
It could be.
I'd love to see. I hope we get a Master. A 2 or 3 Master episode. Maybe Missy, John Sim,
definitely
and
Sacha Dhawan. I mean, there's great lines. I mean, there's a bit where he's with Yaz in the TARDIS, and he's changed outfits. And he's like wearing like the 7th Doctor's jumper.
It's like a mixture of all.
Tennant's tying that, and Yaz is like, "Do you think I'm gonna let you?" And he goes, "I am the Doctor," and it's just so funny. And you can see a bit of like spit come out, and it's just, I love the passion in that performance. There's little great lines like he goes to Tegan like, "How's your auntie Vanessa? Do you keep her in a little dollhouse?" and stuff like that.
I gotta say, I love the passion in your performance right there, my friend.
I just love this show, man. But yeah, Sacha Dhawan, very good, sir. Very good, sir.
Last thing on Sacha Dhawan.
Go on.
It's just as well, I think he's struck that right balance.
Yeah.
Like when you first see him in Spyfall, he's like fucking nuts.
The Joker.
And then like he's the Joker, but the Joker's the Master. And but then by the time we get to this, it's like, I even said, and this sounds a bit weird, but he came across a bit creepy, a bit a bit perverse.
It could be on a particular. It could be on a particular list.
Let's just say. Especially when he was walking through. Oh, and as well, I gotta mention the worst thing the Master has ever done is when he turned around to Kate Stewart and said, "Your dad was an idiot.
Your dad was an idiot."
Fucking bastard, man.
I love it.
Oh, it was great, but fucking bastard, man. He deserves everything he gets. He deserves to rot on that weird planet thing.
So I said earlier that, Chibnall has this tendency to add too many characters, and this is another great example of that, because, pretty early on, Dan leaves the episode. I mean, to be fair, I liked what they did with Dan, to be fair, because, there's that bit where he gets shot, and, there's basically a hole in his helmet, and it's like, I don't know if I want to do this. You know, he's meant to go to a date. So that the way that was sort of like, you know, it was very organic the way he sort of wanted to leave in that sense.
Yeah.
It's good kind of writing there.
Can I just say that?
Go ahead.
I reckon. See, this is another thing, and like, I don't want to go into this too much because I know you got something to say.
Oh yeah.
But it's just like it makes me think of like, due to the pandemic and all that stuff, how much of this was like, you know, he wanted. Did John Bishop want to leave, or did he only want to do so much, or did he not want to do this episode? And this is where I was saying. You know, I was saying like how stuff's written in to sort something out. Maybe this is another thing. Like maybe that opening's like Chibnall's there. Like, right, how the fuck do I get rid of Dan? Oh, okay. While he's with the doctor, he gets he gets into an accident. It makes him realise that life's precious, and he leaves the doctor and that. And it's just like, this is what I mean. It's good that Chibnall can sort of, with this episode, the way he sort of wrote himself out of situations. But then again, we'd never know the behind the scenes of all contracts and all that stuff. So yeah, it's just like with him leaving early on, I don't know whether that was a creative decision or an active decision, if you know what I mean.
I'm going to go ahead and say it was a creative decision because, I mean, you've got to account that, you know, Tegan and Ace are very... Yeah. You've got to make sure they've got a lot of scenes, so it's sort of essentially passing the parcel.
Let's say it as a creative decition then.
Yeah.
And not like... It could be an active decision, but let's just say it's part
Maybe
of
he just
the
thought
story.
Flux was shit.
Yeah.
Waste my time. So yeah, it's like, you know, you were saying, it does feel like a sequel to Day of the Doctor, and you know, you can get a true sense that Chibnall really wanted to sort of be the fanboy inside and really wanted to write for these 80s companions. And like, I did like the way Tegan and Ace was treated. I think with Ace, you know, we get an idea of what happened with the Seventh Doctor and Ace, but it wasn't too sort of overly explained. It was like they had an argument, and that's sort of nice, which I think is nice in a way because it sort of gives the audience sort of like, oh, they can make up their own reasoning. And like Tegan and the Fifth Doctor, it was sort of like, you know, they mentioned Adric because of the Cyberman. That was nice and touching, but it wasn't too overly indulgent. There was a good balance in those two interaction scenes. Would you say you agree yourself, or was there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, well, I haven't really watched much Fifth Doctor. Well, we should say anyway that the Fifth, Sixth, Seventh, and Eighth Doctor and First Doctor are all in this episode, which I thought the way they bring them back in the sort of regeneration limbo was good. I thought that's a great way, and we sort of said like, it would be nice to think that, because they say that, you know, it's where she isn't a physical place, it's in her head. And it's like, the way I kind of see it is like, I'd like to think that once the Doctor regenerates, and because, you know, Time Lords and what the fuck do they happen when they die, it's like maybe the incarnation can live a full life inside this sort of like paradise. And that's the reason why, you know, the Sixth Doctor hasn't got his big permy hair. It's like the different reasons and all that stuff. And I thought that was a really good way to see them again. But now, also the hologram was a good way to see him as well. But I thought that was a bit cheaper.
The whole AI Doctor is a bit of a convenience.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like, it's really annoying to think that. And I don't know. You said that Jodie was with the Doctors.
So,
but
there was a documentary on YouTube, and you could see him on set that Colin David Bradley was with Jodie, and I'm assuming Peter as well as Sylvester and Paul McGann. But the scenes between Sylvester and what's her name, Sophie Aldridge, and you know, that you can kind of tell. That seems like it was definitely green screened, and you know. Yeah, they tried
to do it a bit where, like, as the Doctor is talking, he becomes more sort of filled in. Like, he looks like he's actually there, but he's not. And it's like, the thing, and this is the thing I want to just bring up in general.
It's like we're recording Big Finish during lockdown, and it's like we're in separate rooms. That's what I got out of that.
Yeah, it felt like that.
Yeah,
and it's like, and this is just the thing about films in general. It's like, maybe they did that for scheduling issues.
Yeah.
Or was it to not spoil anything? And it's like, do you reckon if you would have enjoyed? Do you reckon before going into this, like they would have come out and said 5, 6, 7, and 8 are in this episode. There you go. Would you have preferred not to know, like you did, or would you have liked to know? Bear in mind, just so we could get actual scenes of people outside. Like the only reason they announced Tennant coming back is because he was filming outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean at first, I would prefer not to know, but I would have preferred if in the long run to be notified that they were going to come back, because the interaction is so important that they're essentially atoms in this space. And if you see them interact, and it's more genuine, it's more it's more what's the word? It's more emotionally satisfying to watch.
The thing is, they've done stuff like this in Doctor Who before. Like when Capaldi regenerated, they had what's her name? Jenna Coleman. She's obviously not there at the end.
No,
she's on a green screen. But I'm pretty sure that was for scheduling reasons. I don't think it was for spoilers.
Yeah.
If that's the reason why they did that, where they speak to them in holograms, it's kind of like, I would have just preferred them to fucking be there.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's nice that Jodie actually interacted with, her predecessors. I mean, if that's not something, then what is?
Yeah,
man?
I mean, it's still good, but it is a bit.
Yeah.
It's just annoying because it makes you think of like the future of like TV shows where it's just like, oh, we can fucking put anyone anywhere.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a conversation about.
But yeah, going back to Tegan and Ace, it's like, it's weird to think because they haven't really done any TV or film in like so long, and like to see them go back into their old roles, it's almost like being home again. And it's like, yeah, you can kind of say it's kind of silly seeing Tegan and Ace pick up machine guns and shoot Cybermen, and Ace, parachute.
I was wearing her own fucking old costume. Man.
Yeah,
get a new
very
fucking,
80s.
Get a fucking new jacket, Ace. Fucking.
I know,
hell.
yeah. Probably
I know
stinks,
time,
man. Hasn't he been washed in
know.
like? Yeah. I was gonna make a joke then.
I know fucking times are hard, but fucking get yourself a new jacket, man. Maybe it is a new jacket.
Just because it's been 3 decades since you haven't cleaned your jacket.
maybe it's one of. Maybe she's like a hoarder. Maybe she went to Ace's house. Maybe she stinks, man. Anyway, carry on, because that's another tangent.
It's canon in my head.
Does Ace stink? Big question.
That's going to be a Reddit post waiting tonight.
Another character, which I liked her being there. I've always thought she's good when she turns up. And I think it adds a nice sort of consistency between the old series and the new series, which is Kate Stewart. I really like it when she pops up, and I think she has become almost like the Captain Jack in a way. I don't mean that in terms of character, but it's like she's like, because there's nothing really tying this era to Matt Smith's era.
No,
or
apart from
Capaldi's era.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think Kate Stewart, whenever she turns up, I just like it. But you weren't too impressed, was you?
No. I like seeing Kate Stewart. But to me, she's just carrying a name from a beloved character. That's all she is to me. I mean, I like seeing her. I mean, whenever you see her, I mean, all she does is essentially explain what's going on and what the Doctor needs to do. And there's moments where she's in trouble, where she has to shoot her way out of it, or she gets, converted in this episode. But there's nothing really much to her. She's honourable, she's brave like her father. She carries that sort of burden of maintaining her father's legacy because of the name. But there's not really any personality, and I really feel like she's kind of wasted. And it's like, yeah, I mean, the Brigadier had that same role, but I think there was more to it than the Brigadier compared to Kate Stewart. And there's a kind of irony considering Classic Who doesn't develop its characters well compared to the new series. And like, she's kind of two-dimensional. I mean, when she appeared in Flux, it's like, yeah, I like seeing her, but I can't remember what she did. Can you?
No.
Yeah, and I do think I just wish there was an episode where I kind of this is a bit fan servicey, but I do kind of wish there was an episode where the Doctor's sort of stranded on Earth, a bit like a John Pertwee episode, and it's a sort of relationship, but it's with Kate Stewart.
Yeah.
And like, you get to see a side where you think about the 70s, you think about the Silurians, you think spoilers. You think about the ending where the Brigadier essentially gives the go-ahead to commit genocide. We never have a moment like that with Kate Stewart, and that's seriously lacking with her character. There's not really a true defining moment with Kate Stewart.
But what about that bit in Day of the Doctor where she threatens to blow up all of London so the secrets don't get out?
I mean,
I think in this episode, but see as well, to sort of disagree, is that I think the purpose of sort of unit, especially in this episode, it is for the Doctor to get there and be like, right, what the fuck's going on? Because it saves us time having the Doctor.
Oh yeah. She fits that purpose really well.
Yeah,
you know.
Which I think is all right. But yeah, if in terms of like giving her like a really character, I don't think. Yeah, I think you're right there.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
In terms of exposition, I think she serves a purpose well, and she doesn't.
Yeah.
To me, she doesn't feel like that just exposition dump person. And I will say, I did like the moment. I feel like I'm having a Mandela effect now. Where did this actually happen? But I did love the moment where she gets taken into the TARDIS. And she's like, oh shit,
this is bigger than the inside. Yeah.
Fucking brilliant, man.
I think my problem is the fact that compared to the Brigadier and the Third Doctor, they have such an amazing chemistry. But with Kate Stewart, with the other Doctors, there's not really much chemistry. There's little lines here and there, but there's not that sort of relationship that was sort of started off so well in the 70s compared to now. That's my problem. But
one thing about Kate Stewart as well. Who plays her now? What's her name? Gemma Redgrave.
Yeah.
Watch a film from the 80s called Dream Demon. She's in it. It's like a weird fucking... it's like the British version of Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's fucking great. What did you think of Jodie then? Because this is her last episode, and has your opinion changed of her from 2018, which seems like so long ago, to now? And it's just like... I'll be honest, in terms as a whole, she's still probably one of my least favourite Doctors, but I wouldn't mind actually seeing her again. And to be honest, I think she slots in there perfectly. I think when we look back as all the Doctors, I'm sure she'll be added with everyone else. She won't be that Doctor. I don't think, and like nothing against Colin Baker, but she won't be the Colin Baker of New Who.
Yeah, I think she'll be more fondly remembered compared to Colin Baker. Yeah,
what did you think in this episode anyway?
In this episode, I think because I think there was something more going for her, because it's very sort of somber, it's her final story. You can kind of tell that Jodie put everything into performance. I did like her. Like I said, I'm not one of my favourite Doctors, but there's a bit where I think my favourite scene, and it's probably an underrated scene, is where she meets Tegan and Ace again. And like, I don't think she does socially awkward Doctor really well, but in that scene where she's sort of like, Tegan, Ace, and it's like, it works really well, and I'm very much convinced by that performance. Yeah. That whole like ending regeneration speech, it's like I said, I didn't really feel anything because I wasn't a big fan of the era, but like, it was kind of like, it was sort of very, very much in a character, sort of, very sad, but very optimistic. And I don't mind the final line, tag you're it. I know you wasn't really much of a fan of that line.
I think Jodie's regeneration as a whole is probably the weakest.
Really?
Probably.
I don't think it serves too much in terms of gravitas compared to, like, let's say, Capaldi's. But we're talking about two vastly different actors. But I think the writing as well, is kind of weak.
But the only probably regeneration worse than this is probably 6 to 7, because that was just like a fucking,
bump the head off the console.
Yeah. But like, and as well, when she says something like, "I want more time."
I want more time.
And the delivery of that line was just fucking terrible, man.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought she was going to go into David Tennant level.
To be honest, though, I'll be straight up here. I actually think, like, David Tennant's regeneration is a bit sort of cringe.
It is very
like,
cringe.
Like even his delivery of like I don't want to go is
Because he's such a sulky little sod.
yeah, and it's just like, yeah, I don't know. I think, and the thing, one thing about Jodie, which goes to show that by this point she has become the Doctor, is that we have 5 to 8, well, 1, whatever, and she doesn't feel like she's overshadowed the same way that like Matt Smith didn't feel overshadowed by David Tennant.
Yeah, which is such a weird
like,
contrast.
Doctor.
Yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Maybe just in life we've become a lot more cheerier, and that's
because
why he doesn't feel as
and
bad.
I think it's because we haven't seen a recent episode in such a long time.
Well, that's another
you
thing.
know,
like,
that I think that adds to it. You know, it's weird
Maybe.
you say the whole like, you know, meeting the older Doctors doesn't over sort of shadow her, and it's weird really because the contrast compared to like her and the Joe Martin Doctor, and the Joe Martin is actually much better than Jodie's performance. But in this one, it feels like she's sort of found her sort of balance. And also you know, it's not only Jodie's last episode. It's what's the name of the actress who plays Yaz? Mandip Gill. I wasn't really. I mean, I wasn't really sad to see her go because, you know, like I said, Chibnall has this tendency to have so many characters, but he doesn't. The current main characters he doesn't spend enough time developing them, and it took such a while for Yaz to be developed throughout the whole tenure of Jodie's era. It's like by the time we got there, it was just like, okay, see ya, you know. And it's like they had that whole like, oh, you know, Yaz obviously has feelings for the Doctor, but it didn't really go anywhere. And like, you know,
that's best.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It's like, thank God it didn't go through that route because we've already been there with Bad Wolf, and it's like, does it really need to happen again? Yeah.
A part of me is like, was it always Chibnall's plan to have sort of not an anticlimactic ending to Yaz and the Doctor, but more of like, you know, I don't know what I'm trying to say, like more of a subdued exit.
Yeah,
because it's just like, you know, we've had like Amy and the Doctor or Raggedy Man, and we've had like, how did Clara? Oh, Clara, the whole memory.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it was nice just for them to be like, look,
I need to do this on my own.
Yeah.
You need to go.
Yeah, you know, it's just like our time's over now. So
yeah, because it's like, it makes sense because, you know, Yaz had obviously had fallen in love with this Doctor, and I don't think she would have. You know, it would have been a kind of like a Clara situation, like Deep Breath.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
I think as well.
it makes sense.
Yeah. I think as well. Mandy Gill, when they're having a sort of moment and she's really fucking crying.
I
man.
know.
And it makes me think, it's just like, yeah, people fucking moan about this show, and we have as well. And it's just like,
but you could tell they had such a great time.
Yeah, they must have been really into it because them tears. She looked fucking like she was crying. I mean, you think about it. I mean, they've had 4 years together, like, and it's always been them two. I know there was Ryan and Graham, but you know, it's just that, and it kind of makes me wish in that first series. And well, throughout Chibnall's era, that
it was just one companion.
Yeah, we had one companion, and also that Yaz was a bit more developed. And it's like, it feels like in the first episode she's introduced as a police officer,
but they don't really do anything about it.
Yeah, and then in the last episode, when she's got the gun on the mask, she's like,
I've had weapons training.
Yeah. Oh, did you fucking remember?
Oh, that's convenient.
Yeah. And it's just like, yeah, you finally fucking remember she's a policewoman, man.
And
Officer,
it's a shame really, because I actually don't mind Mandip Gill as an actress. It's just, you know, she's given not much to work with, and I feel sorry for her, but you know, they seem like they had a good time. They've travelled around the world, you know, fair enough. Yeah. You know, I gotta say one thing as well. Like, I'm so glad Chibnall did not do this, and he didn't mention the timeless child. There wasn't anything in terms of finality, and like, oh, so what was inside that fob watch? There was no Joe Martin bit where, oh, so I regenerated after the second Doctor, and stuff like that. Thank fuck. And I think obviously you can tell that's just, you know, it's all about Jodie. It's in respect for her. So I'm so glad I never sort of, and it's like it's sort of left to the side. And it's like, thank fuck, man, because I think that really would have really fucking killed the episode for me.
Yeah. Well, here's a question for you.
Go on then.
Do you think, and I don't know, this is kind of a stupid question, but even though we haven't been the biggest fans of the previous 3 series, do you think, though, having watched them, now that we've spent so much time with these characters, the Doctor and Yaz mostly, and the Master, that you feel more attached to and more used to. Do you feel more attached to them as characters, or do you just feel more used to them?
I feel more used to them.
I do, yeah.
Yeah,
See,
I see when the Doctor and Yaz, when they had their sort of goodbyes, I didn't really, I was just like, okay.
I remember, like, I've always thought, like, what's the 13th Doctor? Because I don't feel like Chibnall is very good at being emotional as a writer, and I was kind of thinking, what's Jodie's like ending gonna be? And to be honest, I mean, it probably didn't hit me as like emotionally as like the other Doctors regenerating.
No.
But I still felt that kind of like, oh, it's time for her to go.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah, I think sometimes you just gotta be like, look, some people probably really love this era, and that's fucking great.
Good on them,
and
fair
like,
play.
They probably was in tears, and
Yeah.
they went on Tumblr. And
I'm glad it provided something for
posted
someone,
something.
at least. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's enough.
it's what Doctor Who's about.
Exactly,
Man.
exactly, man. Baby shit.
Yeah.
I'm shaking my booty.
Yeah, the companions, though. I said sort of earlier, this episode is like what the Day of the Doctor did for the Doctor, this does for the companions. And just see, even though it did kind of make me laugh, like there's a Doctor support group where they all have to get round and like talk about shit. But it was fucking great seeing, especially Ian. The guy is 97.
97.
Fucking brilliant.
William
man.
Russell, man. I mean, they should have done this, from in Day of the Doctor, and it's like, it's insane why they didn't do it. But this, oh my god, man, it's like a chapter closing.
Yeah. I mean, who was there?
So we had Mel,
Yeah.
Joe Grant, and obviously Ace and Tegan were there, as well as Ian.
Yeah.
And that was it.
And Yaz and the other ones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Not
Couldn't wait. Most epic combination ever of Dan and Graham. Absolutely fucking brilliant.
What did you say? It was like the greatest sort of collaboration or something.
Yeah, I can't
like,
remember.
Like better than Marvel. Or something.
Yeah. I said so.
But yeah, it's I like this episode because it leaves on such a good note.
It really does.
Yeah, it's like there's a past that's acknowledged so beautifully well with the classic era, as well as the interaction of certain characters. It's a really nice tribute, and and it's obviously it's a centenary special. It's 100 years of the BBC, and I think that's such a I couldn't have done it better myself in terms of that sort of tribute, especially.
I think as well a good thing is that like a lot of the companions now from the classic series are all getting on.
Yeah.
Like quite a bit. I mean, Ian's obviously 97.
Yeah.
How old is Joe Grant? Well, the actress.
She must be in a like.
How old is Sophie Aldridge? She's probably the youngest of the whole.
She must be approaching 60.
Yeah. So, if this is the last time we see these companions, it's
a good. Yeah, it's a good way to leave it. Yeah.
To be honest, a bittersweet thing about this sort of episode is like this probably. Well, we've got the 60th next year, but this is like the end. We're coming to the end of the classic series, if that makes sense. Like Tom Baker won't be with us for many years from now, and it's like the companions won't be, and like even like fucking Colin Baker's 70, isn't he? You know what I mean? So it's I'm so fucking glad that we've got practically every Doctor that is gonna come back, and I think we probably might see 11 and 12.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing 13 in the 60s as well.
It's like to leave with such dignity and respect to those beloved characters. It's just
And it's a fucking Chibnall episode, man.
What the fuck?
Ain't it, man? It's really good. Really fucking good, man.
So yeah, overall, like I said, Jim needs to stop acting too much fucking ideas, plots, too many characters in order to sort of get, because it's like I said, it's going to be too hard to sort of resolve them all quickly with some sort of rush Deus Ex Machina. But I still like it for what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a clue what she was doing with them volcanoes. And the one thing I think, Chibnall, I think he's always tried to fucking put his mark on this show. and do something. And it felt like with this episode, just make an episode of Doctor Who, man.
Yeah.
Don't
Exactly.
Try
exactly.
and add this in because you think Series 11, no returning monsters. Series 12 and 13, Timeless Child.
Yeah.
And this one,
Yeah.
there's Joe Martin pops up, but that's it.
Yeah,
I mean, apart from maybe the degeneration thing, but I reckon that might be maybe Russell T. Maybe that had something to do with. Maybe he had something to do with it, but we'll probably talk about it.
I mean, you've got that Dalek appearing out of nowhere, saying, "Oh, I disagree with the way the Daleks are progressing. I thought we wanted to be like
I
Daleks."
actually quite like that.
Really?
Yeah, I like.
Did you?
that
I mean,
Dalek.
did you not think it was like sort of plot convenience?
Yeah,
In order to sort of get Jodie where.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of this episode which is plot
Yeah.
convenience, and I think it works though. But
Fair enough. I mean, I do think it's very silly seeing Graham out of nowhere.
oh yeah, that was dark. But is this episode better because of fan service? Because he's worked, because it's the centenary special of BBC. Has Chibnall be like, well, I've got to put in the old Doctors? You know what I mean?
Because I have no attachment to this current era of Doctor Who, and without the appearance of beloved characters from classic Doctors to classic companions, I don't think I would have been that invested, if I'm honest. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, same. I reckon.
So, like I said, this is for something for older fans and new fans. I'm not saying this is Chibnall being apologetic. It's not. Like I said, he didn't. It's not like he changed anything. He didn't retcon anything. He was just like, you know what? This is my last episode. I'll do something for everyone, and it'll be nice, and Jodie as well.
Yeah, saying that, I reckon if we wouldn't have had the Doctors coming back or Ace and Tegan, I reckon we would have had like another Sea Devils, Legend of the Sea Devils episode.
Yeah.
Legend of the Sea Devils is one of the most forgettable things ever.
Yeah.
It's so forgettable. I don't even know.
Badly
what
green
happened.
screened.
Oh, trust me.
Let's not go on about it. But yeah. I mean, yeah. That's pretty much it, really. But anyway, now that Jodie's regenerated into David Tennant, what did you think about that?
When it was first announced, I think we were both like, nah, don't do it. You're fucking bringing back the Doctor and all that shit. And
It's like,
why
it's
have
too
you
much
done
fan
that?
service.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
now, I'm actually kind of like, let's see what they're doing with this. And I don't know if it's because they kind of set up the reason why she is degenerating, or she did degenerate.
Yeah. It's,
But it's just like, at the same time, it's kind of like, in my head, I'm like, it's good to see David Tennant back. Like, it is good to see him. And the geezer doesn't look a fucking day older.
I know, yeah. It's like 50.
Oh, fucking
Yeah.
hell. Can you when was his first series as well? 2006?
2006. So yeah, it must have been like in his
16.
late 30s. Fucking hell.
In terms of, like, the future of the show, I honestly don't know what I actually want from the show anymore. It's just like, and I don't mean that as a negative. It's more like I'm open to whatever is gonna come next, and it's just like, and plus my one annoying thing is that they're referring to the second 10th Doctor as the 14th. And
Yeah,
it's fucking weird,
it's
man.
pissed me off, to be honest.
And what Ncuti
Gatwa.
is now the 15th.
And Tennant's played 3 incarnations of the
Yeah,
Doctor,
yeah.
and that's such a shit fact.
And Ncuti also makes history by being the first Doctor with a mustache. Do you have anything to say about the future of the show and what we're going to expect?
It all depends on how. Well, it all depends how Russell addresses why the hell David Tennant's back. I mean, maybe he looked at Chibnall's script and he thought, oh, I could use that as a way to get David Tennant back. You know, the whole degeneration thing.
That's the
And
thing,
it's
yeah.
like, fair enough if that's the case, or would he have done it anyway regardless? Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of questions, but yeah, it all depends really, because it's like, when they managed to degenerate Jodie, whatever, it's like, okay, fair enough, that's been resolved. But there wasn't really an indication that it's sort of gone wrong. That, oh, okay, maybe that device they used to degenerate Jodie, it's basically malfunctioned, and that's why we probably got David Tennant back again. But there was no indication of that, because when Jodie regenerated, you see David Tennant in his new outfit, and it's like, where the fuck did that come from?
I'm not too asked about the clothes thing, but I
go
think
on.
the thing is, I think there's two things here, and they kind of answer each other. I think Jodie regenerating as a storyline, Jodie regenerating to Tennant, it kind of feels like we're going back. Like, all this episode feels like going forward, and they always mention the show, it's all about going forward.
Yeah.
And this feels like going back, and it feels like we're kind of disregarding 11, 12, and 13, if you know what I mean. But at the same time, your thing about there's no indication of the regeneration going wrong.
Yeah.
It would have been really, as a story point, it probably would have made sense. But I reckon if the last time we see Jodie is her sort of scared and not knowing what's going on and being like, oh fuck, what's going on, and then she regenerates into Tennant, I think it would have been really dour. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of.
That's true. That's a good point.
I wasn't a big fan of Jodie regenerating, her regeneration in general, but it would have really.
It wouldn't have reflected her Doctor.
It would have gave me an off feeling if like she does the arms out.
It's like the War Games, but that made more sense.
Yeah. And plus, you know, they do what the fuck they want then.
War Games was better. Though.
And it's just like, I think that's it. Like, it would have been a horrible image.
Yeah, it's like
the last image of Jodie's her frightened.
She's a beacon of hope to these kids, and it's like to see her like, ooh.
Yeah, it would have been horrible. It would have been.
But the thing is, though, it makes me think. Is this technically a regeneration? Because you see him wear these clothes, or is it something else? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, how can you regenerate new clothes?
But there is. If you look, this is what this. I think this whole clothes thing, which I ain't really bothered about, but I think
that's just.
I think it's not to worry about. Don't think about it. Because if you look at that tiny little split second we have of the 15th Doctor. He's wearing
David's clothes.
Yeah. Like, so, but where, like, another thing just to think about, top 10 fucking mysteries of the next series. It's like, in that scene where he's like, what the hell's going on? I don't think he's anywhere. I think he's in some kind of, like, it's kind of similar to Jodie in the regeneration limbo. I think that's where we're going to get some Doctor cameos. I reckon he's going to talk to maybe, I mean, I'd love to see 9, but I reckon he's at least going to talk to 10 because he's in it, 11, 12. Maybe Jodie might pop up for a little quick hello and then go, because you can't have Jodie regenerate and come back like straight away.
It's probably going to be the most messiest regeneration process ever. So that could be probably why. And where you could, like you mentioned there, that's where like the fan service could be brought in as well. So
and plus, see, this is the thing though. But sometimes you just have to be like, right, don't think about it, because on another thing, whenever the Doctor regenerates, he's always like, you know, a bit fucked up for a bit. And it's like, it seems like this Doctor regenerated, and they were just like, oh fuck, sweet, I'm the Doctor again.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's like, maybe this, I don't know, maybe, but if it's not a regeneration, what the fuck just happened then? You know what I mean.
I think it's regeneration and something else, but you know, I can't really say what.
Maybe she's a Cyberman. That's the thing we didn't mention. The Master's got cyber implants or something. Didn't you mention that?
Oh, he like didn't he like swallow the Cyberium or something?
Oh fucking.
It's over now.
But I think that's pretty much everything.
Pretty much.
But yeah, overall, have I got anything else? Just a thing. But yeah. Maybe it has been because it's been a while since we've actually watched Doctor Who. I mean, I don't think I've watched any episode of Doctor Who since Sea Devils, because I didn't be into it. But I can't believe I'm saying this about a Chibnall script, but maybe it's been a while. But this episode reminded me of what I loved about Doctor Who, and like there's plot holes, stuff doesn't make sense,
clunky dialogue.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bit where like Chibnall has this tendency to sort of, even though we see what's going on, they have to make one of the characters say, "Oh, look, there's a child tethered to the planet," and it's like we can see that, you know.
Yeah. But it's the most I've been engaged and entertained by Doctor
for
Who
a while.
In a while, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for that one, Chibnall, and thank you for watching our little review of Doctor Who. There's probably going to be more Doctor Who stuff at some point, so. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next one.